Hey, good day and happy new year to you all. Here we are in 2024. Last time I was on, we were talking about, at least I was talking about New Year's resolutions and sent you the HBR article on whether or not you should actually make any. So if you're feeling like, I didn't make any, it makes me a failure, please go ahead and take a look at that article that I sent out to you in my post last 2 weeks ago. So here we are today. And what I wanted to do is really discuss what emotional intelligence really is. And it's a word that I throw around a lot because I'm an expert in the field. And a lot of people I hang around with really know all the ins and outs of what that means. But I'm realizing that maybe a lot of you don't. So let's define it. I'm sure you've heard it, but I want to go ahead and define it because as an emotional intelligence consultant and coach, what I do is work with businesses and professionals on increasing their emotional intelligence and everything else that has to do with that. And it's a big umbrella. So let's take a look at that. I'm Allison Johnson from Clio Coaching, and I'm glad you joined in for this. So I am actually going to share screen today with you, and let me find my slides. There we go. And I'm going to make them big and me small, so that works out better. There we go. So these are the basics when it comes to emotional intelligence. It is really this is divided into 5 subsections, and you may have heard if you ever, read Daniel Goleman, Goleman. He is one of the gurus in emotional intelligence and really made the term popular by writing the book Emotional Intelligence. And then he wrote another one, Emotional Intelligence in the Workplace, which is really where I live, is working with people on their emotional intelligence as applied to their work and their careers. And it does translate to your personal life too. So whatever you're practicing in the workplace can also elevate your emotional intelligence in your whole life. And the nice thing about emotional intelligence, and let's just call it EI from now on for short, is unlike IQ, your intellectual intelligence, which is what we hear about all the time, IQ scores, that sort of thing. That's rather innate. By the time you're an adult, your IQ is pretty stable. And EQ is something that you can grow over the course of your lifetime. And so that's the good news. And you can definitely grow it if you're focusing on it. So let's take a look at these things right here. So you see upper right under the basics of emotional intelligence. When I do an EQI 2.0 assessment, these are the categories and the competencies that get measured for one of my clients. So the competency sections are self-perception. That's how you feel about yourself, how you see yourself, and then self-expression. And that's how you show up to other people. And you may or may not be aware of all the aspects of how you show up to somebody else. And that, again, is another reason to, on my website, I have this saying that says to really see yourself, you need a mirror. And to really understand how you show up to other people, sometimes we do 360 assessments. You ask people how you're showing up to them. You start paying attention. You do reading on it. That's a way to grow your self-expression. And then interpersonal and all the things associated with that are how you interact with others. How do you play with others? Do you play nice? Do you play too nice? Are you too direct? Are you those sorts of things? So the competencies are, do you have empathy? Do you display empathy? Social responsibility means not necessarily that you're running every cause in your community, but are you, is that important to you? Those social aspects, the causes maybe inside your company or outside your company. And a lot of people I know who are millennials and, in the major building stages of their careers really don't have time between their families and their work to be involved in what we think of as social causes or those sorts of things. So it just depends how you score on that, depending on what's going on in your life. Actually, the whole thing can depend on where you are in your life and in your career, how you show up on this. And then interpersonal relationships, we just talked about that. And then what a lot of people don't really think of as far as a competency in emotional intelligence is how you go about making decisions. And a lot of times, if we're really too busy, running too hard, too fast, or maybe it's part of somebody's personality, that they'll make a decision on impulse without really looking at data, without looking at facts, without thinking it through. So that's what the impulse control piece is about. Reality testing is about, are you looking at data? Are you being objective? Are you checking in with other people before you make a decision about what may affect them? And then problem solving. And then stress management. I work on stress management with people a lot because in the workplace, that's one of the situations that stresses us out most in our lives is our stresses according to work and our careers. So being able to manage your stress under pressure helps you avoid burnout. It helps you with overwhelm. It helps you recognize what you need to be doing to help yourself if you are, too stressed out place or displaying signs of and symptoms of stress. And so we can tell by how flexible they are and what kind of tolerance they have, and the other things there, how they're going to respond to stress. And every workplace can be stressful. So that's another area that people choose to work. So to really know where you show up in your emotional intelligence, it can be quite useful to use a tool like the EQI 2.0 to find out kind of where you are baseline. And what you'll notice is if you ever do that, then you'll see where your strengths and maybe your areas of weakness can be, depending on where you are on the scale. And the scale is pretty much from 80 to 140. And so if you're midline on things, that means you have good balance. If you're too strong in something like assertiveness, for instance, that means you might want to pull that back because maybe you're too assertive. Maybe you're showing up as too pushy to people. If you are too flexible, like let's say your flexibility score is off the charts, you may be, I don't know, a pushover when it comes to big decisions, or maybe you don't want to be that flexible. You want to hold the norm, or you want to adhere to a certain set of guidelines and not get pushed around on them. Could be in interpersonal relationships. If you're too flexible, you might be giving in on things that are important to you or giving away your time. So, for instance, that is just a quick and dirty overview of what emotional intelligence is and the wide range of aspects that it includes. And so that's really a lot of what I do is work with people around all of those areas in order to build their self-awareness around who they are. It doesn't mean you're going to change it. It just helps to know, yourself better on each of these areas, and then be able to talk to other people about it too, if you're trying to find a good fit for your skill set. Like, let's say in a project or a new job, or, you're considering a career change, things like that. Really no downside to understanding your emotional intelligence. So we'll talk more about it in the next 9 weeks. What I want to do is take a deeper dive into each of these areas. Excuse me. But first, I want to leave you with one tip about how you can start becoming more aware of your emotional intelligence. And here it is. Sorry, guys, I'm getting over something here. Okay, thanks. Technique number 1 is to journal every day. Don't get all upset and think it's going to take a lot of time. It's really about noticing how you react to things. And you'll notice for sure if you're having strong reactions. So it's just about journaling that every day for a couple of weeks. So sorry. Get whatever's going around, I got it. So there are 3 questions to ask yourself at the bottom of this tip sheet, and I would be glad to send it to you. All you really need to do is get a hold of me, and let me show you how you can do that real quick. There we go. You can contact me at cleocoaching.com/contact and fill in the form, ask for the sheet. You can send me a LinkedIn message, or you can also email me at allison.johnson@cleocoaching.com. Ask for the technique number 1 of the emotional intelligence series. So I'll give you another tip next week, and we'll keep doing that for another 8 sessions after that, and where we'll be doing deeper dives into each aspect of emotional intelligence. So I hope you tune back in, and it's one of my favorite things to talk about. Have a good day, have a good week, and I'll see you next week.